The Ranger's Hunter subclass. Unearthed Arcana expert class. What have they done with it? What changes are we potentially looking at for the future? All playtest material, so don't get too upset. Hunter's Prey changed significantly. What they've done is the Giant Killer and the Horde Breaker features, you don't get a choice anymore. They're gone. They just don't exist. But Colossus Slayer, the mechanics remain. I found as a general rule that most people who played Rangers and were using the Hunter's Prey, they would go with Colossus Slayer. Quite often, Giant Killer was not something that was satisfying unless you knew you had a campaign full of giants. Horde Breaker generally didn't wind up getting used that much either, so a lot of players would just go with, I'll use the Colossus Slayer. Now, if you look at the older version of the game, Rangers were supposed to be really good at dealing with giants. And it doesn't exist now. The Ranger has nothing to do with being really good at dealing with giants. That's gone. And it's also removed from the Hunter subclass, which is supposed to sort of double down on what the Ranger is. And so that's not there anymore. So I feel like there's a little piece of the Ranger that's been lost. I didn't mention it so much when I was talking specifically about the Ranger, but I'm going to specify it here, that has always been a major feature of the Ranger, and it's gotten lost. How big of a mistake is that? I don't know at this time. Okay. Hunter's Lore is new at level 6. This is basically a stat block radar. I suspect a lot of Dungeon Masters are going to hate this. Hunter's Mark lets you know a creature's immunities, so you know what, as soon as you put Hunter's Mark on a creature, you know what their immunities are, you know what their resistances are, and you know what vulnerabilities there are. So this is an awful metagaming mechanic, but it does kind of fit narratively and thematically with a Ranger knowing what to exploit with a creature. So before we beat up on this feature too much, narratively and thematically, it does kind of make sense. But we're doing this by doing quite a bit of metagaming. Now, is that a bad thing? I'm still not too sure. But I would suspect that Dungeon Masters, quite a few Dungeon Masters, are going to hate this. And players have no other choice but to say, hooray, because they've probably been wanting this for a long time, okay? Defensive tactics is gone. If you liked defensive tactics, it's gone. Not a great loss because they were very situational, those combat features that were available. I don't think that you're going to miss them too much. So them being removed from the game, I don't think is anything to worry about. MultiAttack changed for the worst. It is now gained at level 11 rather than 10. And instead of getting the volley attack or the whirlwind attack, which is basically you could attack multiple times up close if you were surrounded, or you could volley a number of enemies, it got replaced with a prepared conjure barrage spell that you can downcast. And I don't honestly feel like this is a better I think more thematically and mechanically, it was smarter to go with the old one. I think the new one, this prepared conjure barrage spell that you can downcast, I think that was a mistake. I'm not a fan of it. I like things that you can kind of just do. Why is it that they can only do this through a spell? I think for a Ranger, it made much more sense that they could do this whirlwind attack and this volley attack, and at level 10 I could live with it. Okay. Superior Hunter's Defense removed the silly choices that you had. You had quite a few choices there, and the choices have been removed. It is now gained at level 14, not 15, so you get it sooner. This ability focuses on the uncanny dodge feature, which is probably the better of the options you had available. It halves damage as a reaction and redirects that damage to another creature. I don't understand that part of it. I think it would have been Uncanny Dodge, which is basically another feature that the Rogue gets, which got it at a much lower level than the range does. Uncanny Dodge for me is a combat feature at what level? 14? Like, well, I don't understand this. It's not something that I'm sold on at all. I do like the fact that they're trying to simplify the hunter. That's essentially what they've done, is they've doubled down on the things they think people will take, and they've simplified it. Will you be happy with it? I don't know. I'm not convinced.